Welcome to the first ever Fatherhood Unity Month brought to you by CBMA, Campaign for Black Male Achievement, Good Fathers Only, and the Daddy Talk podcast. We're celebrating fathers, fatherhood. This is Legacy Week. Then I had to bring on my friend and brother, John Conyers III. Welcome, John.
Thank you for having me. How you doing?
Real good, real good. Just checking in. It's been a while since I saw you last. We was actually at a fatherhood event.
Yep.
Yeah, we were at a fatherhood event, and just excited about this opportunity because your dad was one of my favorite people, and looks like me and you are building a decent relationship. And I just wanted to really have this during Legacy Week to make sure that people get an idea of what a legacy looks like. And you're the seed of a legacy. And so I want to jump right in and get to some of these questions so we can, get this show on the road. If you don't mind, tell us what it was like to have your dad in your life.
Well, I mean, to be quite frank and to be honest, I think there's an assumption or it's an assumed that my dad was like very, very active in my life for the majority of my life, and that's not the case. So I think one of the things that when we talk about fatherhood, the most important thing to me in fatherhood is accountability. Because me and my dad didn't really have a good relationship until I turned 21 because he was always working and traveling. So like whether that was me at school, like maybe when I was 5 to maybe to like, I guess first grade, I remember him taking me to school, and then my mom moved to Oklahoma because she was in law school, and so obviously my dad was still doing his thing, so it was just my mother and I in Oklahoma. And then maybe third grade to fourth grade, he was still taking me to school, but after that, it was mostly my mom. And he was very like, that was a time where he was very, very much so in the thick of the Bush era, that presidency. So he wasn't around a lot. And I'm like, if we're going to have this conversation, I'm going to be honest with you about who my father was to me, not what people think or the type of father they think he was. He wasn't involved. That's just plain, like
right.
Many weekends not there. But I think for me, once I realized, right, because I was so accustomed to him not being around, I didn't really realize what I was missing out on until I got to college, really. And then I started hearing, talking to my friends about, or not even talking to my friends, but seeing their relationships with their fathers, them calling their dads or their dads calling them, and have the frequency of the interaction, of the communication. And that's when I think it really got, our relationship even got worse from like 18 to 19, even to 20. And then I just confronted him. I remember one time I confronted him, and he wasn't receptive to it. He was like, I was like, you haven't been involved. You asked me about things whether it's something that I've already done, something I've already considered, or something I've already told you about, and you don't remember that we had a conversation about it. But then when I brought it up to him then, and it was like a so what kind of thing. But then at 21, maybe a year and a half later, he was like, so where do we go from here? He took accountability and admitted like, hey, I was focused on my, the things that I cared about. I was focused on the community. I was focused on being the best at my calling. So that was the shift. So I think from 21 to, last year when he passed, that's the closest we've ever been, because he became my best friend through being accountable for his absence. And I think there is a misnomer or misunderstanding that just being present is enough in fatherhood or motherhood for that matter, right? That is not the case. Like, it's actually taking an interest in your kids and talking to them about what they're doing and what you're doing, and have them have an understanding of what you're doing. Because I didn't care about politics when he was involved in it. My interest in politics, while I have a wealth of knowledge because of the access that I had to DC, right? My interest in politics and my own politics are not very informed by my father. They're much more informed by the things that I lived with and that
Right.
I have an understanding, like my life, the things that
Right.
the way I grew up. So they are, while we both have an interest, the reasoning behind it isn't like, oh, your dad's John Conyers, so of course you went into politics or you're going to go into
Right.
politics. That is not the case at all. That's a misconception. That is a very common misconception.
Right. Right. Which is, that's what you said, when we first met, and you have been honest, and I like that. The second question that is, what does fatherhood mean to you? I know that was something that you wanted to jump into right away.
I think it's accountability, right? I think it's being present. I don't know if we talked about it, but I think for me, there is the historically Black parenthood, or how we see Black parenthood, at least from when I grew up, and how I was raised versus how some of my peers were raised, because there's much less of an age discrepancy with their parents. For me, my mom's eras before that, it's like, I brought you in this world, I'll take you out. There's
Right.
the whole trying to instill fear in your kids, but that is not in reading the Bible, that's not biblical, right? That's not like there's a Bible verse that says lead. What is it? Oh, but the essence of the verse is don't provoke your kids to anger. Like, that is not right. That is not godly. That's not Christ-like. So for me, fatherhood, whether that's motherhood or fatherhood, it is being mindful of that, right? It's being mindful that you're here to raise children, right? They're not supposed to be afraid of you. They're supposed to come to you. They're supposed to look to you and trust that you are their protector. And that's like with the police. I'm not going to go to the police and talk to the police because I'm afraid of the police. I can't trust them to protect me. So if fathers or mothers, and from that matter, are always like, you trying to instill fear in through their instilling of values, they are also instilling fear. How can you have the open line of communication that you seek to have as a parent? Or when you say, I don't know why my child would do that, or I don't know why they didn't come to me, was because you're not showing me that I can trust you with my wrongs or my rights or my decision making. The things that aren't right to you, that you may not agree with, but they may not be against the law. They just are a departure from what your core values are, right? But we have to, as for me, when I'm a father, I know that just because I may not agree with what my child does not mean that my child is wrong, because they are their own person. And in the Bible, it says, lead a child, raise up a child in the way they should go, and they shall not depart from it. That doesn't mean that does not mean take a child to church. It means, what are that child's proclivities, right? The way they should go are the things they are naturally inclined to. That's how someone becomes successful, by doing the things that I noticed that my child is a painter. They like to paint. They like to draw. Oh, I noticed that my child is really good at math. So as a parent, as a father, if I notice that, if I'm involved, if I'm engaged, then it's my responsibility to put my child in all the math, get him a tutor, all the things with math that my child loves. Let's put them in that, so that when they get to the age of being able to choose what they want to do in school, do they want to be a chemical engineer? Do they want to be a civil engineer? Do they want to be a coder? Do they want to go into finance? Because that's math based. What are the things that are around math, right? So that they have an option. If they're good at drawing, do they want to design clothes? Do they want to design websites? Like, what are those things? So to me, fatherhood that's what it's about, right? Those are the things that matter to me, right? Not I brought you in this world, I'm gonna take you out, or all those. That to me, that is from an era, like, not saying it doesn't have value, right? I'm not saying I'm not saying that it wasn't not value. It wasn't without reason, right? Because that comes from an era where if you did something, right, it's still present today. Your child could leave home and not come back, right? But the way that it happened then was much different now. And so you can't continue to parent and the way that it was done in 1940 and 1950 and 1960, 70, and 80 when it's 2020.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm often having this conversation that it was those parenting styles. Like one of the things that really um, affected me was the extension cord, right? Like
Yeah.
being hit with an extension cord. Like that was one of the things that affected me. And I knew that I didn't want to be that type of parent, right? So I didn't lean on a lot of those values okay, how many times I'm going to spank them and all of that. I didn't really lean on those values. I really spent a considerable amount of time, like you're saying, in trying to figure out what it is that they like and really follow them into it. I think that's very
Yep.
important. The next question is, give us one of your great moments between you and your dad. Um, and I'd like to share before you say that. It was the day Kwame was arrested. We was in your dad's office. Myself and her name was Jillian Geisendorf, right? And we signed a juvenile diabetes bill with your dad that day. That was the same day Kwame was arrested. The first time they arrested him, we were sitting in the table, and the people was in there. It was really eerie at the time. But that's the great moment that I have with your father and making a difference for kids with juvenile diabetes. So, give us one of your good moments. I know.
My number one moment with my father is he was a big John Coltrane fan, and John Coltrane died in the '60s. So as you can imagine, this is before the time of computers, and people have like recording tons and tons of music, because at that point in time when John Coltrane was making music, and I don't know if anybody knows, I used to be in the music business. So the music business today is much different than what it was then. So now we record on computers, and there's hard drives, and so whatever you record, you can record endlessly and save it, and you can back it up, right? And so your master files are not saved to things that are I guess the word could be degradable, right? I mean, aside from a fire, destroying or water damage to like the electronics, they're pretty much safe for years and years to come. So 2018, I'm listening to NPR. I'm in the car by myself, and John Coltrane's son gets on and say they found these old reels. And if you know anything about music, these are like this is like the plastic, easily highly flammable reels that also are susceptible to mold, all sorts of things. And these are at this point 40 plus years old, right? So they found these old reels from an artist who's been dead for at least 30, 35, 40 years. And so I was able to surprise my dad. And if I don't know how much music matters to you, but it matters greatly. It was invaluable to my father and myself in terms of bridging the generational gap with he and I, but also just on our own. For me being a professional songwriter, to him formerly being in a quartet, for us it holds a lot of value. So for me, my greatest moment with my father is the two of us being able to share never before heard John Coltrane, and never before heard John Coltrane album together for the first time. Right? We got to experience like the feeling of the first time your favorite artist releases a new album, like the first time you hear it. And for me to get to experience that with my father with his favorite artist who had been dead for who knows how long, right? For me to have that with him, like that I'll never forget that. And I was able to gift that to him for his birthday. Like I was able to gift the album to him for his birthday. And then a second album came out. So it was from around the same era that had never been heard before. So for me, that would be it.
Yeah, that's epic. It's funny because me and my son have really reconnected. My oldest boy, and he said some of the similar things. Because me and his mom were apart, and it was just really, to hear you say that. We've had a few moments like that where it's just been something between the two of us that we know was a bonding moment. I mean, that's just a powerful time in a relationship. Considering I'm looking forward to when you do become a dad.
I am too. One day, at some point, it'll happen. I hope.
Right. So, did you guys ever celebrate Father's Day? What was it like? Did you guys ever do that or?
No, my dad. So my dad and I are similar in that way. I'm not we're not birthday people.
Okay.
we're not really like, that's just not our those kind of obviously we did it for my mom and like their anniversary, but like we were never. I'm not to this day. Like I turned 30 this year. That's a big number just in my family. Just on my dad's side, most like a lot of people don't make it to 30. So for me, that's an important this is an important birthday for me. But prior to this, I never celebrated birthdays, and my dad wasn't, and Father's Day wasn't a big deal for him. Obviously, we would do certain, like, obviously I got him gifts on Father's Day, but it wasn't like hey, let's go out to eat, and like it
Right.
just that was never like and that's how I'm similar in that if you want to celebrate me on Father's Day or my birthday, give me the room to do the things that I love to do. If it's my day, then let me spend my day how I would want to
Right.
spend my day. So my father was like, hey, I'm gonna read the paper. I'm gonna be immersed in my job. And I was now having dated and you know, and now with the pandemic and all these things going on and being fully immersed in my career in finance, I have great value for that, because it's like it's not that I don't want to give someone time, but I really care and am immersed in what I do. And I want to give, I don't want to leave this earth having said, or with anyone being able to say, I got something left in the tank, or he could have given a little bit more. Like with my dad, you can't say my dad could have given people, like he left it all out there, right? And so for me, I'm very
Yep.
much committed to like the work. So he was the same way. So Father's Day just wasn't a real thing.
Yeah, I kind of swag it. I decided that I wanted to change that. That was part of what we do in this Fatherhood Unity Month, that because I wanted us to value fathers a little more. A lot of times I think society didn't has come up with this way that we don't really value ourselves enough. And like I hear men say what you just said, let me have a day to myself where I don't have to do nothing, that type of thing. Me, I want to dance, I want to shake a little bit, want to rock and roll, you know what I mean? I really want to celebrate it, because fathers bring 71 values.
Yeah.
71 values, you know what I mean?
So I'm with you on that, because I don't see myself being the type of father. Birthday still yes, but I don't see myself being the type of father in that way that my dad was, because I see myself being the fun dad, the playful. Like when I finally have kids, I know that like whatever my career is gonna take a back seat, which is part of why like dating right now isn't a priority, because I know I want to give. Like I'm not even 30 yet, right? So I still want to give as much as I can to what I'm doing to get to a place where it can kind of my prior work can carry me a little bit, and I can sacrifice time and give to my wife and my kids, right? So I'm with you in that regard, for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait to introduce you, my son. Y'all talk a lot. Very analytical guys. What are some of the yeah? What did you realize? When did you realize your father was a great man? Like, when did it land for you that, hey, my father is really this person?
Um, I don't know. There are times when I was young. I don't know if it great. I don't know. I think I knew my dad was different, and I knew that I remember like we would travel, like I said, when I was younger I used to be with him a lot, like when I was young, like between the ages of like being a baby until when I was like first grade, and a little bit in third grade. But like I do vividly remember, and this goes back to like why dating and all that stuff isn't important to me right now, is because when we would travel, obviously him being so much older than me and having done the work for so long, he was world famous, right? So like it didn't matter where we traveled. It didn't matter if it was Los Angeles, DC, Detroit, Atlanta, wherever it was. He would get stopped in the airport, and like happen like we would be like, whether it was coming home, especially when we would come home, but even when we were going places to go get our bags, it would be people just stopping you in the airport, and he would and I mean I understand now, but at 5 years old, 6 years old, you don't understand, like, Dad, why we every time, like, I never get to spend time with you, and every time you got to stop and give this person 5 to 10 minutes to talk about politics. um I don't know I think I realized he was great. I think I don't great. I don't know. That word is so, it comes with so much, but I realized the magnitude of and the scale of his work. Um, Probably all the stuff happened around um like the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
Just because, and I don't mean to bring that up, but I think I realized it when the vacuum was created in his absence, right? And there wasn't a voice for the things he was pushing for. Like I think sometimes it's the absence of things, right? The things that you take for granted, once those things are no longer present, then you realize you're able to see, right? Not that I didn't think he was doing important work before then,
Right.
but I think I started hearing it. I started hearing it from the people in DC, right? Like I started hearing it from the people in Detroit, and then you see the kind of people that are trying to assume the mantle, right? And then it's like, you know what someone who has the heart for the work looks like, and then you see the person that's trying to come do it, and you're like, no, I don't recognize that. Like I know you, and I'm not saying that's not even saying they wouldn't be good, quote unquote, good at the job, but the person, like the person that can really do it and be down in the trenches, like I can march with you, and then I can go talk to the CEO, right? And I can finesse my colleagues to get everything done on when I'm actually on the job. That kind of thing, you can see it. And then once he wasn't there, I was able to like, oh no, like there's only one of this guy. I think that, I know it sounds bad to say that, but that's when it kind of really slapped me in the face. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It's like the year after Jordan. You know what I mean? This the year once you realize that and it's funny you say that because I had a situation like that in my life, and my brother told me, "Watch what happens now that you're not present." And it was 20 years before they had another Division I basketball player come to the high school. So I get exactly what you're saying. I think it's very important that we start really appreciating. I did put the suggestion out there before, but somehow, some way, he needs his own day. He needs something because the work, when you go back and look at the work, from reparations on, I don't know how we can, even deny the quality of work. Like I hear people say all the time, the like you just said, the magnitude of his work, the level for which he was able to do the things and move things without it being very very disruptive. He was good at his craft, and it's very hard for someone to follow. Um, Here's a great one for you. How did he really impact your life?
I think just commitment. He showed me. I mean, like especially as I got into like um my like profession. I think the commitment and dedication, right? The hours you have to put in, and I think even more than that, just the how unapologetic he was about it. It wasn't like a. And again, this goes back to dating, which is why, like, I think my perspective on life is so skewed, being raised around someone who was unapologetic. Like, I'm doing this. Like, this is where my time is going. Like, this is what it is. And I don't know that it's like that may not be healthy for every relationship, right? But I also witnessed like my mom, like she didn't bother him. Like she knew, like, no, my husband is doing the thing that he does. That's not only is that how he provides, that's how he like that's his gift. That's how he contributes to the world, right? And so for me, when I look at dating, when I look at life, like he impacted my life the most, and I had to get there was a time where I had to get comfortable with it. I wasn't always comfortable with telling a partner or communicating to a partner, like, this is what I'm doing, and if we're going to date, you have to understand that this is where the majority of my time is going to go, because I have a calling, I have a commitment, I have a passion for this, right? I have a, not beyond passion, because passion is overrated, right? Purpose is much more important than passion, because passion will fade. right? But when you have purpose, you know that like I eat, sleep, breathe, wake up. This is what I have to do to sustain myself. And that was evident even when my dad wasn't working. Like once he was out of office, he ate, slept, breathed politics. Like I have a video on my phone of a man who's not in office that says talking about the most important thing I can do for the 2020 election is make sure that Trump doesn't get reelected. Right? Like it's not it's that. It's like finding purpose and finding something committing to something, whether it's an ideal, a job, whatever it may be. Commit and put the work in, put the time in.
Man, you sound like my son. You sound just like my son, man. It's crazy because those are the things that he say, man. I'm telling you guys, when your birthday, man?
I'm July.
Yeah. Okay, so like he's he's January, but you guys
Okay.
sound so much alike, man. It's amazing. And maybe it's even college. You know the different principles. Um, so it's now up to you. Tell us a little bit about you. What are you doing these days? I know you got your hands in a few things. You're a very successful entrepreneur.
Uh, so now I was a songwriter. That was when I was younger. I had a creative consulting firm, but now I'm partnered in a hedge fund, first minority owned hedge fund in the history of the city of Detroit. We have about $26 million under management and growing. That's really it. That's it for me. Considering running for office again, haven't decided. Just taking it day by day and staying out of, making sure I don't get coronavirus. That's it.
Hey, man. Yeah, I think we all are there, right there. And you know that's a real piece for I think each and every last one of us. You know, so since it's finance, give us some advice, brother. Tell us something good. What should we be looking at?
Oh man, so full disclosure, I'm not a trade. I don't trade. I'm
Okay.
business development. I'm the guy that talks to you about what our fund does, and what how we can benefit you. That's kind of my job, my role. I'm also over private placement. So private placement deals are like we invest in films. So like I source those deals. I source private deals, private placement kind of stuff. That's my job. I'm not an investor in that regard. I'm not a trader. I couldn't tell you what stock to pick if my life depended on it. Unfortunately, that's my partner's job. There are four of us. So there's two black guys, a Pakistani guy, and a Chinese guy.
So it's hard to get money out of y'all. That's what you're just saying.
Oh no, it's not hard to give. We don't. So our thing, we don't give money. We invest. So a hedge fund. So I can talk about this one because this is one of the things. It's something I'm working on. Is like hedge funds are specifically public equities. So that would be Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Target. We only invest in public market, like pub things like anybody, like you would go buy Target stock. Venture capital is like, oh, there's a private company, they need $1 million to help get them started. That's venture capital, right? We don't do venture capital. We do like movies or things like that like it's a private deal, but it's not like a company. Like it's just like it's a private investment that'll give us an ROI at a particular date, right? Whereas like venture capital, I'm just giving you capital to keep this business going, and you may or may not go public, you may or may not fail. So we don't do those kinds of things. And then private equity is like, you know, Gold's Gym is going bankrupt. We can, or no, a better example is BlackBerry is going bankrupt. We can buy it for, it's worth $100 million. We can buy it for 50 cents on the dollar, so we can buy it for 50, and then we'll sell all the parts off, like all the technology, like all the underlying things, whether that's the software, the other proprietary technology. We can sell all that stuff to different tech companies at a profit. So we could buy it for 50, sell all that stuff together for maybe another 30 million, and we could pocket 30 million altogether. So what I mean? So that's what private equity is.
Hey, man. So you just took me to class, huh? I
It's a
appreciate
little bit.
that. You know, you know, I'm always interested in learning something new. That's something I just learned new. You know, normally when you hear hedge fund, it might be in a scandal or something like that. You know, to learn what it really is about is awesome. I I wanted to really get back to understanding the relationship between you and your dad, that type of thing, and the moment about the Coltrane moment and the Father's Day. Are there any other moments you'd like to share that is very
I
important?
don't think there are any moments I like. I don't think there's moments as much as I think the most important thing is, I think the most important thing in any parental dynamic is friendship, right? And I think a lot of times, um, especially in Black households, it's like parents don't parents feel like they're above the child, right? I'm your parent, so like you can't make a joke with me, and I take myself so seriously. So if I fall down, you can't laugh. You can't laugh at the fact that I fell down. But if it was like it's stuff like that that prevents, like, again, to my earlier point, that fosters the bond that is like, we're still people. You're still a human being. So you trying to put yourself above me, right? Like you don't make mistakes, or like especially when I become an adult, right? Yeah, I'm an adult, and we're always gonna have whatever the age gap is, right? But at a certain point, it don't, like, you've been 24 before, and I've been 24 before. Or I've been 30 before, and you've been 30 before, right? So there's certain wisdom that you, like, at 30, I know at 30 stuff happens, and like you make mistakes. You're not perfect. It don't matter that you my parent. I know that, like, you're a human too. So trying to maintain a dynamic that was conducive to a child and an adult is not the same. It's not a workable thing. So there's a reason why, for me, the relationship with my father versus my mother is much more close, because there's still an attempt to keep that buffer. It's like we can do that, but I can see through that. So I see you, like, I can see you as a human, regardless of whether you accept that and you accept what's going on, like you acknowledge those things. I can see it, so we can play the game. And my dad was never play like that. Was never a case. He was never trying to, like, no, yeah, I do make mistakes. I am fallible. I do misspeak sometimes. Oh, I can learn from you. There are things that I don't know. Like, I think that to me is the best thing about our relationship, and the thing that I miss the most is that, like, not like he was very much, I'm a human too, and like, oh, you have something that you can teach me. Oh, cool, I'm ready to learn.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I've been saying a lot. Teach me. I had some brothers who was trying to talk to me. I said, well, you know, I don't know about the dynamic that you're educated in. So teach me. Tell me what it is that you know, if you see that my statement or how I look at things was wrong, teach me so I can understand exactly. So, you know, I feel you on that. I'd like to throw something at you. I didn't know, you know, I don't know if you know this statistic, but it says 63% of youth suicides are from fatherless homes.
I wasn't aware of that.
Here's another one, which we're gearing up for, is black males, boys, right? So the number two killer for kids, John, is 10 to 24 is suicide. It's the
I
number
didn't
two
know
killer,
that.
right? But the
I didn't
number
know
one
that.
killer for the kids age 5 to 12, black boys are number one.
Yep, I knew that. I mean, that's what I campaigned on. I talk about mental health all the time. It's not just the absence of the father. It's again, our community and our the stigmas around things that there shouldn't be stigmas around, right? So mental wellness is important. You wouldn't shame someone for getting a gym membership, or hiring a trainer, right? And that's the same thing for us. That's what a psychologist and a therapist is, right? Or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, right? Psychiatrist is a medical doctor, and a philosophical doctor. Psychologist is just a philosophical doctor, right? But you wouldn't shame someone for going to get the requisite help to maintain their mental fitness, right? And we all deal with traumas, whether you want to acknowledge them, whether you're good with coping with them or not. When you get angry, there's a reason why you get angry, and like the reason why you get angry and you lash out at people is not just because you're angry. It's because there are things, whether that's from your past, recent or distant, that have happened that you haven't addressed, and it comes out sideways, right? So my biggest thing is until we as a community come together and talk about the importance of mental wellness, that's going to continue to be the case, right? Until we as a Black community, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be aggressive or be
Man,
offensive,
come on
but
with it. Come on with it.
this is my personal stance, and I stand
Right.
on this. Until a community, all Black lives matter, and I'm not talking about Black on Black crime, right? I'm talking about Black trans women, Black trans men. I'm talking about Black gay men. I'm talking about lesbians, right? Until all of those lives matter, and the things that happen to them, we can't actually talk. We can't actually sit around and say Black Lives Matter. We can't hide behind not say it. We can't hide behind Black Lives Matter because we're not addressing that the vulnerabilities of the people, of the men and women of our community that are a part of the LGBTQ community, right? That's important. That's what's important to me, and the mental health component that goes into all of that. So that's my 2 cents.
Hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with that, right? And as a matter of fact, like you said, until all Black lives, you could throw in colorism, you can throw in a number of things to go along with that. And yesterday we had Dr. Hill on. Yesterday we had Dr. Hill on, and we're gonna have Dr. Chandra Carr on next Monday, right? And these are the two doctors that is connected to our movement. Like we're revamping to go to really get in front of the young kids to show them how important they really are, right? Because we can't afford.
I want to add this too. I want anybody that says that, like, Black lives don't matter until we start valuing our own lives. Well, first of all, we know that America is a very segregated country, right? Detroit is one of the most segregated cities, and Michigan is one of the most segregated places in America, right? And so Black on Black crime was a term created by Rudy Giuliani way back when as a dog whistle and as a way to deflect from the real issues, right? No one talks about the fact that white people kill 84% of white people, right? But they don't call that white on white crime. That's just crime. So when you talk about Black on Black crime, Black people aren't killing Black people because they're Black, right? The conflicts that arise are because I live in close proximity to you and whatever the hell we're involved in, right? So anybody talking about Black on Black crime has to be fixed first before white people value Black lives. No, the people that are killed, first of all, the Black people that are killed at the hands of other Black people, those Black people go to jail. That's number one. Second of all, those Black people aren't tasked with protecting the community. That's not their job. That's the second thing. Cops are paid to protect the community. They're not paid to kill Black people, right? The Black people that die at the hands of Black people, that Black person isn't, their salary doesn't come from that other Black person. Cop salaries come from Black taxpayers. So there's a fundamental difference. We talk about Black on Black crime. They're not the same. They're not equal. And it is a misnomer. It is a misconception, and it is a deflection for anyone to try to assert anything other than that.
Yeah, a lot of us older people. I'll give you that. A lot of us older people, including myself, I think we just want to fix it. And I think that's why we do that. And you just gave me a whole education on it, and I appreciate that. Part of what started my movement was that process, murder. In 2004, I started laying church where kids was getting killed because I couldn't understand exactly how it was so much murder. And so part of when someone, even include myself, it's not that I even say that, but I feel like I can solve it. I've been in a solution mindset. So for me, it's been let's get healthy fatherhood, and then let's protect these kids from suicide, right? So it's boy, man, husband, father. So that's been my purpose since 2004, 16,000 youth. I would love to have you involved. I would love for you guys to be some type of contributor. Say that.
So I don't know if you heard that. I got a phone call. I was apologizing for that noise.
Okay.
Go ahead though. I'm listening to
Yeah.
you.
And so, and we'll wrap up here. And so that was that's the thing. The one goal that we have is multiplying what we do in communities abroad, right? So we teach our boys a lot of those nuances from how to build computers, right? We got them in prevention. Our hashtag smash suicide, right? Where we're preventing suicide with our mentoring, period. We've been able to multiply the number of kids that we mentor. We use fathers as the mentor because it takes 12 mentors to equal one father, right? And so in that component, we're healing, brushing back, and pushing the next leaders of tomorrow. And so with some of the things that you have said here today, I most definitely, this ain't the last time we'll talk. I most definitely want to, especially the information and the knowledge that you have, maybe you can grab one or two and guide them and teach them. We have a number of kids, even in high school, at high school level, one of our kids aged out, he's going to U of M. But the process is how do we, right? How do we do that, right? So that's something later on. I really appreciate your time. I know you're very busy. I appreciate your time coming on, talk about your dad, helping explain Legacy Week, what a legacy really looks like, even down to the coal train and that was, that's just an awesome moment that a lot of men, they don't get. Right. And then we don't celebrate it enough. So we're celebrating it all month and we're getting these stories for a reason. And once I'm finished, I'll shoot you over a copy, make sure you get your copy. I'm going to take some of this stuff where don't have nothing to do with fatherhood off, but I appreciate you, man. I will be reaching out to you. I will be shooting you our new website, which is coming out here real soon. And I look forward to talking with you even more.
Absolutely. Thank you all very much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Be blessed.
You too. Have a good night.
Yep. So we had just finished the conversation with John Conyers III. We really appreciate you. Shout out to Campaign for Black Male Achievement, right? Campaign for Black Male Achievement, the Good Fathers Only, and the Daddy Talk podcast. Thank you for our sponsors and our supporters, John and Miles. Thank you all for being in. Ms. Heather for joining us. And we just want to, share with you more and more. Tomorrow is our community town hall around literacy, how important fathers are to literacy. It's going to be interesting. It's 3 men and a beautiful person. Cindy Everson will be on with us, and we're going to try to open this thing up and get some more answers as to how we can move the needle for young men in reading. My name is Calvin Mann, president and founder of Good Fathers Only. I truly appreciate you. God bless you. Brother John, good night.
As always, great job, my brother. Looking forward to another one tomorrow.
Thank you, brother.